Okay, so on to the next page. I filled in this example right after page 1. So go through it and then check your solution. For this example here, I gotta read the part where it says there are two types of questions we can be asked to solve. If the question gives you the ratio and the amount of one of the quantities, use your ratio to solve the proportion for the other quantity. Type 2, if the question gives you the ratio and the total amount, you use your ratio to determine what fraction of each item you will need. So let's go through the first example. A punch is made by mixing 1 liter of ginger ale and 5 liters of pink lemonade. So that is a ratio, meaning I have 1 liter of ginger ale to 5 liters of pink lemonade. How much lemonade is needed if 3 liters of ginger ale? So I have 3 liters of ginger ale, but I don't know the number of pink lemonade. So recall from the previous lesson, I try to use these invisible units. So let's say one of them I have it as ginger ale, and the other one I have it as pink lemonade. So really I'm saying the ginger ale is my numerator and pink lemonade is my denominator. Does it really matter the order? No, because it's a ratio, so it won't matter whether you write 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. It's really the same thing, but you're just putting one order first before the other. So it doesn't really matter the order. So I have 1, and then I have the 5 for the pink lemonade. Equals, well, why do I set it up that way? Well, it's a proportion, and I need to know how much lemonade I will need to have in comparison. So it says if I have 3 liters of ginger ale, so where is that going to go? Well, keep in mind 1 over 5, that was a ratio, so I put that together, meaning as part of the same fraction. And the 3 liter of ginger ale is going to go to the numerator of the other. And then you're going to put what for the denominator? Well, I don't know how much pink lemonade I need, and so when you don't know, you're going to put a variable. And so anytime we use a variable, we have to be specific. We have to be specific with what we're talking about. So we need to specify what is x. And so you're going to write a let statement. So I'm going to write let x represent, well, what was the question asking for? Well, let x represent the amount of lemonade is what I'm solving for. So one way I can do this is to cross multiply to try to get that x to the numerator. Okay, I don't want to have fractions, I want to have whole numbers, so I'm going to do cross multiplication, get the x to the top so I can solve for x. So 1 times x is x, 5 times 3 is 15, and so I'll just use a different, well, I don't need a highlighter, I can just put a box around that. And so I need to interpret the 15. I can't just leave it as x equals 15 because it's a word problem. So you do need to write a therefore statement. So therefore you would need what? You would need 15 liters of the pink lemonade. So in that case, that is a type 1 problem. If we're following the box on top. All right, example 2. So pewter is an alloy of 9 parts tin to 1 part copper. The pewter tray has a mass of 750 grams. What are the mass of tin and the mass of copper in the tray? And I'm probably saying that wrong, but that's okay. So 9 parts tin to 1 part copper, that is a ratio. That is a ratio. Okay, so I'm going to highlight some parts. So I have 9 parts tin and I have 1 part copper. A pewter tray has a mass of 750. Well, do you think I'm going to use the yellow or green highlighter for that? Well, a pewter tray is a mix of tin and copper, so I'm not going to use the yellow or green. I need to use like a different kind of color to indicate that it's something different. So let me think about my steps. So step 1. Well, we know that if we have 9 parts tin and 1 part copper, if I put that together, how many parts do I have? Well, 1. For the total number of parts, I have 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. So that's what the total number of parts are. Second, well, what portion of it is the tin and what portion of it is the copper? So part 2, fraction of tin. Well, following my yellow to green, I have 9 parts tin, and what is a total amount of parts that you have? Well, we figured that out in part 1, so it's 9 divided by 10. Part 3, well, fraction of copper is what? Well, you have 1 part copper divided by 10, so 1 divided by 10. All right, so next, a pewter tray has a mass of 750 grams. So that's the total number of grams you have. And I need to figure out how much of the mass of tin and how much of copper I need. So I will probably need to do for part 4. Well, what do you think? So basically you have a total mass of 750 grams. And you know that 9 out of 10 of it is going to be a portion of the tin, okay, the tin amount. You know 1 out of 10 of it is to be the mass of the copper. Well, a hint is, what kind of words did I use? I used the word of. And what does of mean in math? Well, we've said that, well, if you have a certain number of something, it means that the of really means multiplication. So if you have 9 over 10 of 750, well, how do you set that up as an equation? Well, it's like saying for mass of tin, I have 750 grams, and out of the 750 grams, I'm gonna have 9 out of 9 out of 10 portion of it that is made out of tin. So I set it up as 750 times 9 over 10. Okay, you're going to go through the multiplication. So multiplying fractions, you're going to do 750 times 9 divided by 10. Or I could reduce my fractions ahead of time and then do 75 times 9, which is 675 grams. And you could use a calculator for that. Part 5. Well, if you were able to find the mass of tin this way, you could probably imagine that you could solve for mass of copper in a very similar way. So that's one way to do it. Okay, so let's try that out before we forget. Mass of copper. So we're going to do again 750 grams times what? Times 1 over 10. Because we have 1/10 of the 750 grams will be made out of copper. And so I'm going to reduce before I go ahead. Okay, 10 goes into 750 75 times. So that simplifies to 75 over 1. And so that is equal to 75 grams. All right, with this part, was there another way of solving for the mass of copper? Okay. Well, if you knew that the mass of tin is 675 grams, and you know the total amount of the tray is 750 grams, you could have what? You could have taken the difference between the two numbers. So 750 minus 675 is equal to 75 grams. So notice that you're getting the same answer either way. So therefore statement. Therefore, the tray is made up of 675 grams tin and 75 gram copper. So this is like a type 2 question. So I'm referring to this box when I'm talking about type 1 versus type 2. These are the two kind of scenarios that you might have. Okay, so you should try the next example on page 3, and then you can compare it with the solution. It's very similar to the one above about the parts tin and copper example. All right, for the next part, rate. What is rate? Well, a rate is a comparison of two or more quantities with different units. So meaning 100 kilometers per 1 hour, $2.39 per 100 grams. So a rate is usually expressed as a unit rate in which the second term is 1. Okay, so meaning the denominator is 1. Okay, so the benefit of that is you are able to figure out what it is per hour, per minute, per gram, etc. Okay, so for the unit rate, Yota types 120 words in 3 minutes. What is Yota's unit rate of typing? Unit rate is equal to 120 words per 3 minutes. Well, how do you think you can figure out how many words he types in 1 minute? Well, if you just literally put this in the calculator or you literally reduce it because that line indicates to divide, 120 divided by 3 is equal to, and you can solve for that, and it's equal to 40 words per minute. And therefore, because this is a word problem, you would say, therefore, Yota can type 40 words per minute. Okay, so second example, Nicole earns $46 for 8 hours of babysitting. Lean earned $67.20 for 12 hours of babysitting. Who had the higher rate of pay? So as you can tell, the benefit of being able to find the unit rate is that you can start comparing things, right? You can start comparing what is the higher wage. So for Nicole, she earns $46 in 8 hours. And so she earns, and you can put that in the calculator, and you'll get $5.75 per hour. So that's how much Nicole makes. And you're going to do the same thing for Lean. Lean. Lean earns $67.20 per 12 hours. Put that in the calculator. What do you get? You get $5.60 per hour. By having the unit rate, you can easily compare things. So I don't know if you've been to the supermarket lately, but when you go, especially the bigger ones, you can try to look for the unit rate. Sometimes they don't say it in terms of 1 gram per se, but they try to do it in a way that's comparable. So for example, like $2.39 per 100 gram. And so by having the unit rate and these rates and having it by side, you can compare if product A is cheaper than product B because things are provided in different sizes and different weights. Okay, so conclusion. So for between Nicole and Lean, the higher rate of pay is received by Nicole. So therefore, Nicole has a higher rate of pay. Okay, third example. A package of 12 Smarties costs $2.49 and a package of 30 Smarties costs $5.99. Which is the better buy? So you're going to do the same thing. The small pack has a unit price of $2.49. What are you going to divide that by? 12. So you can tell how much it is per Smartie. If you put that in the calculator, you get 0.21 per Smartie. So unit rate, hopefully you're finding it somewhat simple. Main idea is that remembering that when it says unit rate, you're always getting in terms of per one thing, okay? The next part, large pack or the big pack. You're going to do what divided by what? Well, also keep in mind, how do you know what goes in the numerator versus the denominator? Well, you're trying to figure out how much it is per item. Doesn't really make sense to try to figure it out as how many, $1 gives you how many Smarties. Keep in mind, you can still compare it that way, but it might be more common to compare it as money per item, right? So $5.99 divided by 30. So what does that equal to? Put that in the calculator, you get 0.20 per Smartie. And write a conclusion. So what is a better buy? Do you want to pay more per Smartie or less? And so therefore the bigger pack is the better buy.